this is actually what we've achieved and what we are doing. We are growing younger. We're actually growing a younger tissue in the body of an adult individual. And
hello, everybody. My name is Jose Navarro Betancourt, and I am the scientific director of quadraScope. We invest in early-stage biotechnology companies aiming to dramatically extend human health span by targeting the hallmarks of aging. The following video is a conversation with Ishay Attar, biomedical engineer and serial entrepreneur. He is the founder and CEO of BioChange, a quadraScope portfolio company aiming to regenerate tissues. This is my conversation with Ishay Attar.
We all want to grow younger, and this is the tagline of BioChange. And I'll be happy to talk about what we are doing here today.
So, growing younger, grow younger. So can you please give us a quick introduction to the technology and the mission of BioChange?
Yes, sure. So BioChange, well, I've started BioChange because I recently turned 50 and I started to feel the effects of time and aging on myself and on my friends and others, my family. And I realized that as a bioengineer, I can do something about it. And my expertise was biomaterials. I've already started 4 startup companies. This is the 4th, actually, BioChange. By the way, 2 of them were acquired by large American corporates. And I love biomaterials, materials that can be implanted or injected into the human body and can make some effect. And in BioChange, the goal was to restore body functions and tissues that are lost with age. Our goal is not systemic, it's really very local. I mean, we are affecting where we are implanted, where the material, where the biomaterial is implanted. For instance, skin, if it's injected in the skin, then it will rejuvenate and regenerate the skin tissue. It's not going to affect the other organs. And this is actually what we've achieved and what we are doing. We are growing younger. We're actually growing a younger tissue in the body of an adult individual. In our case, the implant, the biomaterial, is turned into a foam by an enzymatic cross-linking reaction. And you can see this foam in the video, and you can see you can inject it, and then after a few minutes, it solidifies and becomes stable. Also stable in the body, which above 30 or 37 degrees and above. And this foam is very, very special. It's unique. Let me show you more about why foam, okay? Because that's really it's super interesting to understand. So it starts with the embryo. So when we look at the embryogenesis phase, or when we turn from a fertilized egg into a full fetus that has all the tissues and all the organs already generated, in humans, it takes about 10 weeks. That's it. Within 10 weeks, the smart material knows how to elongate, how to differentiate, how to form all the tissues. In the case of the zebrafish, which is being researched a lot, this time scale is much shorter. It takes them just 2 days to turn from a fertilized egg and then to grow and have everything already. And this, you can see this in the video, zebrafish body axis elongation. So this fascinates us, and I mean humans, and we researched this. And just recently, there's been really a major breakthrough and discovery by Professor Otger Kampas from UC Dresden, and he published this in Nature. It's not a research that was done by BioChange or by me. It's a research done independently by them, and they've developed a method to image what's going on, the mechanical forces that's going on in the embryo. And what they show and demonstrate in this video here is that it's actually behaving like a foam. And when we invented and started to work with the foam concept that I showed you, we weren't even aware of, we didn't really understand why it works so well. So the bottom line is that the foam is actually is being used like the internet of the means of transducing signals between cells in that elongating embryo. It's caging and uncaging of the foam that makes the cells decide, or that's how each cells know where to grow, what to differentiate into. And that's really like fascinating discovery that connects very well with our technology, which I've shown before, this foam. So if you compare the two, our cell foam technology and the natural embryonic foam in the middle here, you can see this, they're very, very similar. It's really like a random foam. And that's probably why the cell foam is very, very, very effective when implanted into the body in triggering, stimulating the dormant tissue to regrow and grow like it was. It's like we are tricking the cells to believe they are now temporarily in the embryo, okay, with our foam. And then the foam just goes away because the body, the immune system removes it after a few weeks. It's gone, and then this phase is finished, it's stopping, and we get the regenerated, reconstructed tissue already formed. So this is an histology slide of the cell foam stimulating new tissue in a rat skin. So what you see here, you see this implant in the middle. The foam structure, you can see that's the red. That's called mesotrichome staining. And this staining, specifically, the collagen is being stained blue, and the cell foam is stained red, or wine color. And you can see when you see the ingrowth of tissue into the foam, it's very, very clear in this slide. And you even see new blood vessels being formed inside the foam. So that means that it's triggering, it's not just stimulating collagen, it's stimulating the formation of new tissue.
The foam offers cells space to migrate into, and also the structural elements. And these structural elements, the cells mechanically sense them, interact with them. And these structure serves as a cell communication scaffold, where cells coordinate to form new tissue, basically, including blood vessels, which is remarkable.
Exactly. It's the stem cells have a sense of touch.
Absolutely. So you developed essentially a biostimulator that resembles the embryonic extracellular matrix. What is this biostimulator made of?
All right, so we use gelatin as the basic structural component here. Why gelatin? Because gelatin is very well and old and known to regulators, biomaterial. It's made out of collagen, and it's been used since the 1950s of the previous century as an implant, for instance, for achieving hemostasis in surgeries. And then, it's left inside the body, and there's no adverse effects to it. There's no adverse immune reaction to gelatin. So that's why we chose gelatin to work with. And we take this gelatin and we stabilize it. We cross-link it in the shape of a foam, microfoam, microstructured closed cell foam. And this structure is then cross-linked with an enzyme, which is also a very biological way to do the cross-linking, because usually other technologies out there, or other products, been using a small molecular weight chemical cross-linkers, which are often really toxic, or more or less, they're not very biocompatible. And using an enzyme is also as a big advantage of our technology. But the foam is the real, the most important element here.
So just to give more context, if people are not familiar with cross-linking, so the idea for cross-linking is that you stabilize the gelatin, correct? Why do you need to cross-link it?
Yeah, cross-linking technology is necessary here because gelatin is a bunch of molecules which have a physical connection, but then at temperature above 37 degrees, 37 degrees and above body temperature, it's going to melt. They're not going to stay together. They're just going to be flowable, but you have to cross-link them to make that structures non-thermal reversible. So they're going to be stable at the body temperature when they are implanted into us.
So what is the first disease or first condition that you plan to treat with BioChange's biostimulators? You mentioned that you are focusing on localized treatments. What kind of diseases are you targeting?
So we're targeting the first two products that we are developing now and progressing really good with are skin biostimulation. That means turning an aged skin into a young skin. But not just promises and marketing, but really we have a really good results, and we are very close to starting a human clinical study with it. I mean, we have great results in preclinical studies where we demonstrated that by injecting the technology, the cell phone, we call this our technology the cell phone technology, by injecting it into the hypodermis, we can stimulate growth of new tissue with all its components and the architecture of the new skin, of young skin. It's not just the collagen, it's also elastin fibers, it's also the type of collagen. Everything is being regenerated and recreated as a result of the body interaction, the interaction of the body that receives this injection with the cell phone. And I have to say that, the cell phone itself goes away. The body removes it after several weeks. So it it does the job of stimulating the repair and just goes away and leaves behind new and reconstructed skin tissue. So that's the first indication that we're going after. The skin, by the way, is very important because it's, for in tissue aging, it ages the fastest. Okay, so that's why it's also very accessible. It separates us or protects us from the outside harsh environments of the outside, and as such, it's exposed to all the elements like sunlight, UV light, pollution, even oxygen, and all of those elements destroy the skin structure and the extracellular matrix of the skin faster than any other organ in the body. It's also the largest organ in our body. It's about 1/5 of our body mass is skin. It's by far the largest organ. You can see it in this image, for instance, what the collagen, the extracellular matrix looks like when we are young, intact fibers, and then they become fragmented and being removed by the immune system over the years to come.
And is it more challenging to repair the extracellular damage than like these collagen fibers, for example, than repairing damage inside the cells?
Both cases are challenging, but you need both of them to be repaired. You can see what happens to the phenotype of a fibroblast in the middle in this image. When they are sensing an intact collagen extracellular matrix, they stretch and they make new collagen. Okay, that's what they know how to do. But once they start to sense fragmented collagen, they become globular and they stop generating collagen. Actually, they even secrete some collagenase because they think we're not engineered by nature to survive so many years, 80 or 90 years. So when they sense the broken collagen, they think it's an injury and they try to remove those fragments. That's why they even secrete collagen, which just makes things even worse. Okay, and that's what we are changing. We are talking with the fibroblast. We are tweaking it to, even though it's like that, globular or senescent or whatever, we stimulated, we trick it to believe that it's now in the extracellular matrix of our young self. And that makes it work again and stimulate the collagen. another rather external body organ that we are treating with another product. By the way, I didn't mention, but the name of our aesthetic dermatology biostimulator product is Revolet.
Okay.
And that's the name we chose for it. And the name of the next product I'm going to talk about is for treating gum disease, gum retraction, or what's called professionally periodontitis. And we call this product the ReGum. And this is an implant, not an injectable. It's an implant that's being placed under the gums, and it stimulates the gums to regenerate and regrow. And it's probably the largest degenerative disease ever that exists out there for humans. And by the way, not only for humans, we'll talk about also our best friends, the dogs and cats, and they too suffer from that problem, and which we are treating.
Let's dive into periodontal disease. How is BioChange tackling this? You mentioned that this is an implant rather than an injectable.
Yes, we chose to provide the users a product which is not injectable because there's some advantages. There's a better product market fit there when we provide them with this unit. Actually, you know, it comes. It's already a product for veterinary use. This is the product, and it's a three-dimensional shape implant. This one is a flat. There's another one which is a conic. This one is the flat one, a flat square or foam. It comes in dry. They hydrate it for several minutes, and then it can easily be implanted under the gums or in between the gums and the bone tissue, and it stimulates. There's 4 types of tissue there in the gums. It's a complex tissue. It's not just one like in the skin, just like one type. Here, there's different types of tissue here, and the bone, and then the soft tissue, and it stimulates all of them to regrow and repair. And we've proven that in a very very publicized veterinary clinical studies. So we chose to go to the vets and do a study not on model animals, lab rats or lab dogs or whatever, but we chose to really take dog patients that suffer from the periodontal disease and degeneration of their mouth, and they were candidates for extraction of the teeth, and they came in, enrolled in our study, and came out with new gums. So the teeth don't need to be extracted, which is a very big advantage for those pets and the pet owners. Because, I'll just say about that, our fingers are used to grab things with our hands for humans, but for the dogs, the mouth is the hand, and the teeth are the fingers. So if you chop off the teeth for a dog, it's like chopping off the fingers for a human. It's exactly equivalent. So that's why we would want to avoid removing, extracting teeth in dogs, and of course in human, but in the dogs especially, it's even more important to prevent that. And that's what we are doing. We're treating periodontal disease, and we've shown in our studies that we can improve the condition and repair the periodontal disease 100% better than the standard of care control procedure, like twice as better than the standard of care.
And what is the standard of care currently without the implant?
Yeah, the standard of care, they open the gums, they clean it from all the inflammation, and they close it. And that's been used a lot because that has an effect. It's improving the condition, but when they do it now and implant the ReGum, it's much more effective and worthwhile to pay for a unit.
So you basically can save the teeth of the dog. Where is this product available now? You mentioned you're already you entered the market.
Yes, just to be clear, the veterinary market, not human market.
The veterinary market.
The pet care. So the veterinary market is now sold in Europe by the largest distributor in this field. It's IM3 Dental. They're marketing it and it's selling this across all of Europe and the UK. And in the US, we are now in final stage of negotiations with, again, a large distributor. I cannot disclose the name yet until we sign, but we already have an LOI signed there for distribution of both products in the US and Canada, which is the biggest market.
And so I guess, what kinds of data are you gathering from these veterinary studies? Would these sales in the veterinary market help you whenever you apply for approval with the FDA or with a regulatory agency?
Yes, of course. I mean, we are going to provide them with the veterinary study that was published in Frontiers and was peer reviewed and published. And we're also going to provide them post-market data, which shows safety and efficacy. There's no safety issues with Regan. We haven't got any complaint about safety. The more patients, dog patients or cat patients, or we've even treated a tapir in one of the zoos that has a periodontal problem. But whenever the more and more pet patients, animal patients we have, and no adversities, the strongest or the easiest it will be for the FDA to approve it for humans. Of course, we would still have to do all kind of preclinical studies, unfortunately, because they require that. But I hope to minimize the amount of preclinical studies that we will have to do. And that's our hope, and our also maybe contribution to the biotech industry. If you can do a study in pets in veterinary care, do it, and that's really it's really very you come out, you make a profit from two ways. You confirm and validate the technology efficacy and safety. That's one, and the second one, you make money, because the product is then sold in the veterinary market, and you can use it to capitalize on the product and generate revenues in earlier stages.
So now, an obvious question: when do you anticipate this Revolette and Become to reach clinical trials?
Yes, so we've actually just finished almost all the prerequisite preclinical studies that are required for starting clinical phase for Revolette, including long-term implantation and biocompatibility battery and such. And we've also almost finished to set up our quality system, manage our quality control systems, and we're going to file for a clinical study in humans very, very soon, in a few days. File the request with the Israeli Ministry of Health.
Skin regeneration obviously constitutes a huge market with different players developing treatments, most of them fillers such as hyaluronic acid or calcium hydroxyapatite. What distinguishes BioChange's Revolette from these competitors?
All right, so the largest product and most successful product in the aesthetic dermatology market is the hyaluronic acid. Okay, of course, Botox as well, but Botox is something else. It's a neuromodulator and just relaxes the muscles. But the hyaluronic acid is a filler. What's a filler? A filler is a biomaterial that goes in and fills in space, and then it goes away and leaves nothing behind. It doesn't stimulate new collagen. It doesn't stimulate tissue to regrow. It just occupies the space, which helps sometimes, but if it's overused, then the aesthetic outcome is not very natural, as you can know and you can see for yourself, many as you can see. So excessive use of it is not very good, but some use of it is okay. But then it doesn't do what we're not replacing really HA. We're doing something different. And you've mentioned also hydroxyapatite, and there's another biomaterial called PLLA, which is a kind of a starch. Hydroxyapatite, calcium hydroxyapatite is a ceramic material, and it's used as a biostimulator, There are 3 biomaterial different products that are sold in the market. They took about 15 altogether. They took about 15% market share of the aesthetic fillers market, but their effect is very mild. It's very minimal. I mean, their biostimulatory effect is very minimal. They can do some stimulation, yes, but it's nothing compared to what we can do with Revolette. It's like 2 orders of magnitude better in stimulating new collagen than those 2 products which are currently in the market. And there's another big advantage with Revolette, that there's an antidote. For instance, if there is there's an accident and the physician, that happens rarely, but it does happen, that the physician would inject the fillers close to a blood vessel or into a blood vessel, and then it would cause necrosis of the tissue. So in case of HA, for instance, they do have an antidote. It's an enzyme that dissolves the hyaluronic acid, but they don't have an antidote for calcium hydroxyapatite or for PLLA. Those products can never be removed once injected. In the case of Revolette, we do have an FDA-approved enzyme that dissolves the Revolette. So it's really similar in the safety profile to hyaluronic acid, and is superior in safety and efficacy to the existing biostimulators, the calcium hydroxyapatite and PLLA, which are the most common biostimulators used today.
Well, that sounds great, Ishay. So in terms of cost, is it more expensive to use your technology than the current available treatments?
Actually, no. Because we use gelatin, medical grade gelatin is very inexpensive there's endless supply. There's no supply issues. It's really very, very commonly used in medical devices. So our technology, our products, the Revolette, will cost just the same as other biostimulators.
Your products are biostimulators. Will they be regulated as medical devices or as pharmaceuticals? I know that might be a very technical question, but some people might find it interesting.
We are a medical device by FDA definition, also in Europe, in Israel, and other countries, because the way they look at it is they ask this question: what is the primary mode of action here to achieve the effectivity? Is it chemical or biomechanical? And we clearly can show them and answer that it's biomechanical when you talk about scaffold. So all the scaffolds are going to be regulated as a medical device and not as a pharmaceutical or a biologic, because their primary mode of action on achieving their goal is mechanical.
Is the regulatory pathway for medical devices a bit less stringent than for pharmaceuticals? Can we say?
Yes, of course. Pharmaceuticals, you need to do phase 1, then phase 2, and then two phase 3s, which is a lot of patients. Usually it amounts to more than 1,000 patients to get to IND approvals. And in medical device, you just need 2 phases, pilot and pivotal phase. It's usually much less, more around between 100 to 300 patients studies.
And you mentioned Israel. So BioChange is based in Israel, and Israel is considered the startup nation. It has a lot of startups per capita. What do you think makes Israel a flourishing country for startups?
It's a good question. There's a guy wrote a book about it, the Startup Nation. I forgot his name. I think it's the temperament is one thing. We're very active. We like to work a lot. We're like workaholics, and we like to make new things. We are very creative, and we take risks. I mean, it's a new country, relatively young country, 75 years old, more or less, and we want we're just, you know, we have this anger to build, to invent, to change the world. I think many Israelis just, you know, have this passion to change the world.
So Ishai, my final question for you is, what is the best advice you have ever received?
Um, let me think. So I think it's the best advice was that people, somebody told me that I need to learn to lead my ego. So learn to lead your ego. Don't let it lead you, because you know, in the initial phase of my career, at least, my ego got bigger and bigger due to my fast success with the progress of my first company. We raised tons of money, and it was a very promising startup. And but eventually, you know, things didn't go as planned in that startup, and it was my failures and shortcomings that was the real gift. And I mean, that gave me a chance to come back and do things more modest, do it a little bit better. And when I learned how to really control, tame, you could call, my ego, and lead it instead of to let it lead my decisions, things are, wow, it's a game changer for life and for careers.
Thank you for sharing that, Ishai.
Sure.
And thank you again for taking the time to talk with me today. And best of luck and success with your company.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
If you found this video useful and would like more people to see this kind of content, consider clicking the like button and subscribing to our channel. Thank you for listening.